What's up, my boy? Welcome to the Tan Honey world.
Who's one boy? Lucky viewer, which one are you? Girls, get out!
What's up, my boy?
Girl out and be out!
No
Only
girls
boy.
allowed.
Only one boy gets to listen to this episode. Who will be the lucky one?
We're almost at the climactic chapter where the Aether King reveals his evil plan, which Dragon's like, I knew it, you want an Aetheral Space? He's like, oh, you misunderstood the words. I'm going to Aether all space.
Is that what happens now in the story?
Yeah, it's revealed that's the true title.
Is the Aether King? Is the Aether King the strongest Aether user, or is he the king of the kingdom of Aether?
Of the Aether dimension.
Oh my god! So there is an Aether dimension, noted.
In this shitpost version that I've come up with just now, yeah, where
sure.
He reveals that the real title is Aether All Space.
Like all blue.
Yeah,
that's where all the Aether is.
That's his evil plan. He's like, so you have so much space in this universe. I think I'll Aether all of it.
Every color of the rainbow.
Dragon's like, damn it, my Aether isn't working. Wait, I can feel everyone's will behind me. Everyone's like, get up, Dragon!
Could you do like an Aether spirit bomb? It's like, everyone, lend me your Aether. And then just gather it all.
It would be a useless ball if you didn't like have an effect to it.
No, so it's a ball, and you gather everyone's Aether, and it just reinforces. It's like Giga Multi-Infusion. Take a little bit of Aether from everybody. Otherwise, it's just a metal ball you throw. I don't know. Could be the move. So I have a question.
What's your question?
Aether is properly visible, right? It's not like Demon Slayer rules where it's like fake visuals.
Oh yeah, people see the sparks.
Nice. Yeah, that's all that matters. Alright, shall we?
I mean, I thought that was very clear at this point.
No, it is.
I'm a bit concerned now. 14 arcs in, you weren't sure?
I forgot.
It's been like 3 years of this shit.
No, you have to be understanding. My head's not feeling right. I'm very sick still.
I'm sorry.
My head is all... It's okay. Be nicer next time.
No worries, I'm listening and learning all the time.
Anyways, we're 2.5 minutes in. Let's read the fucking chapter.
Okay, goodbye, guess part 1.
Metal danced and sparks sang. Morgan weaved through the storm of swords and the waves of hands, wielding twin smoke swords to deflect that which he could not dodge. Still it was an uphill battle, growing steeper by the second. The incoming thralls showed no signs of slowing, and at any moment Praetorian 5 could just convert them into more swords. He gritted his teeth. The tiny Praetorian hovered high above the battlefield, occasionally moving to dodge a beam of heat launched from Rufus's shield. Morgan clenched his fist, the hilt of his smoke sword shifting to accommodate him. He knew if he could just get over there, he could take that thing's head from its shoulders. But clearly it knew that too. It wasn't just using height as an advantage, it was orchestrating the swords around it to fend off anyone who tried to move in. This was infuriating. It wasn't just that Morgan felt powerless. He could handle feeling powerless, but that he felt he was only just powerless. If he could just reach a little further, move a little faster, he could end all of this with the swing of a sword. That was what boiled his blood. Powerless, useless, worth... A rainbow light washed over Morgan from behind. Huh? He blinked. He turned his head. He did not dare believe. But there it was. In the distance, from atop a building in the battlefield. On the battlefield? A multicolored aurora was shining into existence. A veritable thunderball of Aether, cracking and thrashing as it lit up the night. But not just any Aether, his Aether. Morgan's grip relaxed slightly. Wu Ming. I have to say, pal, Wu Ming grinned, you got me good for a second there. I'd be sweating if I still had the pores for it. You only made one mistake. The black dog tried to pull away to no avail. At the moment its attack had made contact with Wu Ming's head, that entire side of the clown's face had unraveled and wrapped itself around the black dog's hand, binding it tight. Wu Ming grinned with half a mouth. Excuse me. You had to go and act all spooky. So slow. I mean, I'll give you a 7 out of 10 on the theatrics, but you gave me a good half second to respond. Not good, not good, when you do that kind of thing. His grin widened. You get this kind of thing. He swung his head, flipping Black Dog with just his own neck strength and slamming it into the concrete below. Deep cracks erupted in the surface of the roof as the beast's body made contact, shadows spilling away like blood before being pulled back into the central mass. The creature screeched in what might have been pain, or what might have been frustration, but Wu Ming didn't take the time to consider it. After all, he still had work to do. "You know what?" he giggled. "I tell a lie. You made a second mistake, too. Although I don't think you could have done anything to avoid it. I'm just that good after all." Wu Ming's feet had changed, too. They had bound themselves into structures like roots, winding across the rooftop and entangling the four massive heads that, until moments ago, had been attacking ceaselessly. They hung in the air, occasionally twitching, red aether sparking from their empty sockets. "Old Curse Hand gave me the idea. Just a little bit of delicacy. Just a little bit of infiltration." The red aether shifted into a rainbow hue. "And your aether constructs become my aether constructs." They changed shape instantly, the four hacked heads straightening and rising into pointy spikes that surrounded Wu Ming and his quarry. As more strings lunged out from the ground to secure Black Dog fully, Wu Ming shook his face free and backflipped out of the border he'd created. He grinned and crossed his arms as he landed, like he was taunting an animal in a zoo. "Restrained towers," he explained, slapping his palm against the nearest tower. "They're a pain, but this ability gets a little messy if I don't prepare for it in advance. You ought to feel lucky. Not many people get to be hit by this." Black Dog writhed and thrashed against its restraints, but too late. Even as the strings and rope snapped, Wu Ming was already launching his attack. While Black Dog had to escape the circle, Wu Ming just stood there, a soft smile on his lips. While Black Dog had to break free, Wu Ming had never been bound, not once in his life. While Black Dog had to fight for its life, Wu Ming needed only to raise a hand and bring two fingers together. Snap! String theory. Black hole. What Wu Ming created between those four towers was not a true black hole. Even for him, such a power would be impossible. What he brought forth into reality was only a figment of his imagination, his own conception of a black hole, a dark void that pooled in and devoured everything. But, then again, Wu Ming had a pretty good imagination. The Black Dog howled as the singularity appeared above it, as it was dragged forth into oblivion. Its body was cut into pieces by the remaining strings, and those pieces flew up as a reverse shower, disappearing into the black hole shroud. Even the howl was eaten in the end, suddenly cut off, only its echo remaining as a corpse. Wu Ming whistled as he watched. Even with the restrainer towers, the pool of commandeered gravity was immense. His long hair hung in the air like a curtain. It took all that he had, okay, not really, to tear himself away and turn towards the trail of destruction their battle had created. First things first, did a climber nail live through all that? It'd be a bummer if they got crushed by debris. Wu Ming adjusted the shape of his hands, creating an ability to help him dig through the rubble, and took one step forward. He didn't take a second. Instead, as he opened his mouth to take a breath, something sprayed out. Something that should not have been in his body anymore to begin with. Something red, blood. Wu Ming looked down and saw the long, black blade that had pierced through his chest. "Oh. Shit." The Black Dog spoke. "Did you think?" it began in a halting, discordant voice. And then, as if its consciousness had cleared its throat, it continued with a soft, inarticulate malice. "Did you think you could kill me with an attack like that, Wu Ming? 0 out of 10. Wu Ming twisted his neck to look over his shoulder. The black hole still hung in the air, still pooled at everything in range, but somehow, impossibly, a huge black arm had languidly reached out and speared Wu Ming on its fingernail. As it crooked its finger, lifting Ming into the air, gravity pulling him further down the digit, his mind boggled. How had it done this? How has it survived inside the black hole? How had it managed to turn his own attack against him? Oh. He'd said it himself. Just a little bit of delicacy, just a little bit of infiltration, and your aether constructs become my aether constructs. Wu Ming blinked. Me and my big fat mouth. As he was pulled back into the jaws that had been stolen from him. Oh! Yo! So, sorry, there's a new Wendigo art. Is that the black hole?
No, that's the jaws of Black Dog.
Is that Wu Ming there?
Yeah.
Why does he look like the puzzle piece?
Because he's fallen into the voids.
Autism speaks no more. It looks like. Ugh. Sorry, give me a moment. Appointment crushed a head in each hand. Grunting, he dropped the two corpses to the ground, holding his side as he fell to one knee. The carcasses of Praetorian 2 and 3 were already indistinguishable from those of any other drone. The Queen had reclaimed their abilities the moment their defeat was clear, as was her way. In a way, Appointment was grateful for that tendency of hers. It made last-minute turnarounds much less likely. Of course, that also meant that destroying these Praetorians was pretty much pointless. Even if Appointment crushed these insects, the Queen could just promote other drones and hand them another set of powers. It would never end. Even that was leaving Praetorian 1 aside. It was a cut above the rest. The first Praetorian was still flying up high, launching javelins of light that decimated the landscape. Unlike its brethren, it wouldn't come close. There was no need to. In its mind, it had already landed the killing blow. Praetorian 1's Aether armament, Dignity, was a nasty one. Once you were wounded by it, metal thorns would be continually manifested from the point of injury outwards, slowly but surely skewering you from the inside. Even now, red Aether shone from within the sealed wound in Appointment's stomach. Painkillers dulled the worst of the agony, and his considerable infusion prevented most of the thorns from actually manifesting in his body, but that didn't mean he was out of the woods. Finding themselves unable to appear within Appointment's flesh, the thorns were taking the path of least resistance, and so they were manifesting inside his chassis instead. Slowly but surely his suit was being torn apart from the inside. His options were limited. Even just guarding his own body against Dignity was taking an absurd amount of Aether. If he were to spare any of that to protect his chassis, he'd be opening himself up to the armament's continuous attack. Before long, he'd be dead. Not an option. Hiding in the ruins like this would be fruitless too. The Queen would continue to send new Praetorians down here until they finished him off. And even if they didn't, Praetorian 1 was going to get lucky with one of his javelins eventually. Not an option! It was tempting to launch himself out of the rubble, to make a beeline for Praetorian 1 and finish him off quickly. But no. Even discounting the other Praetorians that would attack once he exposed himself, there was no guarantee he'd be able to defeat Praetorian 1 in a timely fashion, given his current condition. There was a good chance he'd just end up wounded even further. Most certainly not an option. Appointment took a deep breath. There was an option. There was one option. But it wasn't one that he'd wanted to take. Even so, it seemed he had no choice. Think why I've got insurance, at least. The white feathers collected in Praetorian 1's hands like specks of light, forming another star-like javelin. It pulled its arm back without hesitation, preparing to hurl the weapon, humming in idle satisfaction at the destruction its previous attacks had already wrought. Beautiful. The complex Appointment was hiding in was now little more than a hail of shattered stone, the buildings brought down by Her Majesty's radiance. Ordinarily, Praetorian 1 would have assumed that his target was already dead at this point. But no. He could sense that 2 and 3's lives had ended after he dispatched them in pursuit. A dead man could not dispatch his enemies. So he would stay the course, and he would continue to bombard the ground below. It wasn't as if he was low on time. The other Praetorians would dispatch the targets while 1 kept Appointment occupied, and if this battle did stretch on further, well, that would just mean Appointment's powers would desert him, and that was fine with 1. He had never been one to turn down easy prey. Praetorian 1 went to throw the javelin, but hesitated. Far, far below, the rubble had shifted just slightly. Movement? 2 and 3 were definitely dead, so it could only be him. 1 adjusted his aim just slightly, and then the rubble exploded outwards, Appointment blasting out of it like a rocket. Praetorian 1 reacted instantly, hurling the javelin with all his strength at the incoming assassin. The polearm flew through the night, carving a path of white in the air behind it. Surely being hit by it would spell certain death for anything that lived. Appointment recognized that too. As he flew forward, undaunted, he raised his gauntlets and unleashed the payload he'd been keeping on standby. Bullets and rockets, missiles and grenades, a curtain of annihilation to meet the javelin as it came. The explosion shook the earth and sent smoke pouring in all directions like the clouds of a man-made thunderstorm. Did I get him? Praetorian 1 pondered. Appointment had been swept out of sight by the sheer destruction he'd unleashed. It wouldn't do to be optimistic, though. If there was no corpse, there was no death. Those were words assassins did well to live by. And that was why Praetorian 1 was able to leisurely move out of the way of the punch aimed for the back of his head, seize hold of Appointment's wrist, and drive Dignity right through his heart. You got sloppy, my friend, he chuckled. But not to worry. It happens to the best of us. Appointment twitched, writhing against the blade running him through, against the thorns that must have already been creating hell inside his body. But then, he stopped. He stopped and he chuckled. It sure does, he said, and his helmet popped open. It was empty. Remote working. Appointment held out his hand as he watched his chassis fight from a distance, twitching his fingers to manipulate it like a long-distance puppet. Here, crouched among the rubble of the buildings, he was unprotected. There, fighting as an empty beast of metal, he was unstoppable. With a twitch of his pinky, the chassis snapped its helmet shut again. With a twitch of his index, the chassis wrapped its arms around its prey. With a twitch of his thumb, the chassis flared with red lights, and a synthesized voice called out into the night. Self-destruct sequence initiated. Please evacuate the immediate area. Self-destruct sequence initiated. Please evacuate the immediate area. Uninfused, the explosion would have been enough to kill anything in the immediate area. Now, charged with appointments Aether, he was a little concerned if he'd be okay, even so far down below. Get off! Praetorian One screamed, struggling against the chassis grasp, while white wings twisting and lashing out like whips. No! No! Appointment! The wings struck at the chassis again and again, but although the metal was dented and although the glass was smashed, the armor continued to float and the armor continued towards its end. Thrusters flared from its back, carrying it and Praetorian One further up into the sky, and... In the last moment, Praetorian One's desperate gaze met Appointment's resolution, their eyes linking between the sky and the earth. There wasn't time to say much. Bastard! Praetorian One screamed, as an explosion like an infant star swallowed him whole. Appointment crouched in the long shadows the inferno above cast, wincing as he saw his chassis destroyed. It wouldn't be easy to get another suit on that level, even if he had the money for it. He'd gotten used to it, and now without it he almost felt naked. Given his reduced capability, maybe it would be best to leave the area now and play things safe? No. He had a reputation to maintain. There were targets still waiting to be dispatched and a mission yet to be completed. He'd just have to make do and proceed with caution. Did Praetorian One lose its abilities, by the way?
Well, we'll see, I suppose.
That's interesting. He reached into his pocket, pulling out his backup chassis, a paper bag with 2 holes for his eyes. It didn't compare in terms of fighting strength, but at least it would conceal his identity. From here on in, he'd be relying on his own infusion and abilities. He'd need to take every advantage he could get. He's rocking the Faust get up from Guilty Gear. Appointment turned to... Or the guy from, rather, JJK in the
yeah, basically.
From here on in, he'd be relying on his own infusion and abilities. He'd need to take every advantage he could get. Appointment turned to sneak through the rubble towards the shopping center, when a white light poured over the world. Immediately he whirled around. That wasn't the light from the explosion that had already started to fade. This was something new. This was something dangerous. Oh, he thought, his eyes widening as he beheld the sky. You've got to be kidding me. The Queen of Malkuth was possessed by a grotesque sentimentality. Generally, individual units within the hive barely even qualified as tools. They were conveniences, nothing more, to be discarded as soon as the situation suggested it. Even the Praetorians were but momentary existences, dreamt up and thrown away in less time than it took to blink. But Praetorian One, that was different. It had been the first. It had been the first to bear the title Praetorian. It had been the first to be promoted into the hive's ranks. It had been the first to fall to their might on the planet Malkuth. For the Queen of Malkuth, Praetorian One was like a beloved trophy, or a pet she was fond of. She wouldn't allow it to be destroyed so easily. To do so would wound her pride. And since the day she had come into existence, she had never once been wounded. Your Majesty? Downloading ability, God Sheen. Downloading ability, Under Blue. Downloading ability, Pressure Barrier. Abilities to defend what was left against the explosion. Oh, I am unworthy. Downloading ability, Red Wine Manipulation. Downloading ability, A Single Flower's Growth. Downloading ability, The Worm. Abilities to heal the wounds of the carcass. Downloading ability, Consciousness Redistribution. Fuck this. What do you even do? What do you do? Download... Well, does he even have the Aether to spare for all these abilities at once? Does he?
The buffs.
But can he use them all?
Well, we'll see.
Downloading ability, Consciousness Redistribution. Downloading ability, Nerve Bolster. Downloading ability, Shelly Storm.
Yeah.
Abilities to keep the spark of being active in those precious few moments. Oh, the pain. Such glorious pain, Your Majesty, your gift to me. Downloading ability, Undisease. No! Undead Unluck made it! Welcome back, Undead Unluck.
You know what? That was intentional, but you know what?
Downloading ability, A Cure for Wellness. Downloading ability, Self-Domain. Downloading ability, XL Replicant N. Downloading ability, XL Replicant W. Downloading ability, XL Replicant E. Downloading ability, XL Replicant S. Generally, a body of the Hive could only handle having so many abilities stuffed into it at once. Even a Praetorian only carried 8 at most. Praetorian one's body was already breaking down. The Queen would need to intervene. Abilities to stabilize that warping form. Downloading ability, the Crimson Gaze. Downloading ability, Morning Star. Downloading ability, Field of Naught. Downloading ability, Mind's Knife. Haven't we heard that one before?
I don't... Not intentionally.
Did you maybe use it in another property? I swear I've heard of Mind's Knife. Downloading ability, Thought Segmentate. Jesus Christ. How it feels when you get to Chapter 3 of the I Respawn as the Shadiest Goblin manga. Abilities to bridge that gap between body and mind. Downloading ability, 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 downloading ability,
The bandwidth.
and of course, abilities to satisfy the Queen's own curiosity. At this point, part of her just wanted to see what would happen. She watched with great interest as the swarms of abilities warred against each other, slammed into one another, and finally... The chorus reached a crescendo. Hallelujah! Appointment raised a hand to shield his eyes as the white light shone in the sky. The last remnants of the explosion were swept away as if they were nothing. Deep in the aurora, a humanoid silhouette drifted into being, far larger than the one that Appointment had destroyed. A voice rang out, clear and clean as Appointment's own thoughts. "Be not afraid!" Red eyes looked down upon the earth, witnessing and judging all. "Be not afraid, Samuel Senseman!" Shining white wings swept through the sky, tracing dominion through the smoke and ash. "Your foul self need not dread, for I am grateful to you!" An avatar of light descended on the world, arms spread wide, cleansing all around it just by the fact of it existing. "Grateful for the divine adoration your sin has revealed!" Oh my god. How was it using these all simultaneously? I love Wendigo's take on angels. Oh no. What do you even do?
I would just wings for a head.
I would just to spite it, I'd take my cyanide pill so it can't do anything fun. Fuck this.
What do you mean? You're saying you're afraid? He specifically said, "Be not afraid."
What the fuck do you do? What do you do? How does he have enough aether to do all that?
It's the Hive that is aether. It's a single organism with like many personalities and bodies.
Fucking Queen of Malkuth, lend me some abilities!
That's basically what happened, yeah. This is armorless Appointment we're up against.
Oh, fuck. And it knew his name, too.
Yeah, that's one of his abilities.
Oh, no. My throat hurts. That hurt.
You ever get, like, hit so hard you turn into a biblically accurate angel?
What the fuck? Oh, Lord. Yeah, if you're listening to this chapter, go read it too. There's 2 new arts this chapter. Pretty crazy. The black hole exploded into blood like a zit, and a second later, Wu Ming went flying out of it. He fell, tumbling off the building, slamming against a balcony, before finally dropping into the alleyway below. Blood, his own and that of the black hole, covered his form. Rain pelted against him from above, as if trying to drill him further into the filthy floor below. The clown of the supremacy groaned softly. He had certainly seen better days. How long had it been since he'd felt actual pain? Both of his legs were gone, torn away by the black dog, and blood oozed impossibly from the stumps. He knew he could weave new legs if he put his mind to it, but his consciousness felt curiously distant. Oh, he realized dully. I'm getting my ass kicked. This is what it feels like. Oh, there's a sight for sore eyes. The black dog chuckled. It stalked out of the darkness. Once again its shape had changed, returning to a bipedal form, but now hunched over, more bestial, like a true werewolf. The canine head was gone, and in its place was a mass of twitching black and white, like a chalkboard drawing come to life. Within a few seconds that mass stabilized, and Wu Ming found himself looking into an inverted mirror. The beast grinned a crescent grin, one that Wu Ming would never have vandalized his handsome mug with. You don't look too surprised, the black dog said. I guess you figured it out, didn't you? Its voice was unsettlingly close to Wu Ming's own, too. Close, though. That was the worst part. If it had been exactly the same, that would be fine, but it was just slightly different. It growled where Wu Ming sang, it hissed where Wu Ming purred. There was nothing worse than a mirror with a crack in it. But still,
Sorry about that.
Yeah, goddamn, you were gone for like over 5
the
minutes.
water pipe exploded at the back.
What happened?
The ice expanded. Are you still recording?
Yeah.
Okay. It's fine, it's getting sorted.
I'll edit it, but look at that. That's my estimate of the timestamp.
Sorry.
I thought it was because your dog was barking. I briefly heard barking, and I was like, is that Black Dog? It's him. Alright. But still, it wasn't wrong. Yep, Wu Ming said, forcing himself into a sitting position against the wall. Your ability, your real ability, is to scrape data from the aether you come in contact with. The black dog's grin stretched further up its face. You probably got a taste of Curse Hand's after effects first, Wu Ming went on. I bet you were able to get the basics of ability development from that, so you were able to cobble together that corner ability. Then you learned how to talk once Manrun hit you with his ability. Then... Black Dog cut him off. I fought you. Oh, sorry. Then Black Dog cut him off. I fought you, didn't I? Wu Ming clicked his tongue. He'd really messed this one up. The more I hit you with my abilities, the more you learned, and the more you were able to develop your own abilities. My taking over those constructs of yours was what really did it, though, right? You basically gave me free access to all the information you had, sneered Black Dog. I'll give you a 10 out of 10 for convenience, if nothing else. Still, Wu Ming sighed. Don't you feel ashamed? The black dog cocked its head. Ashamed? How so? I mean, basically you're a copycat. Is that really okay? I mean, given your species. Black Dog said, and then, after realizing the joke, giggled quietly. Ah, well, things just worked out that way. I guess you can teach a new dog old tricks, can't you? It's old dog new tricks.
he's twisting it.
Wu Ming cringed. Oh wow, you're proud of that, huh? Tell me that isn't my sense of humor. The black dog gave no answer to that. Instead, it just rolled its eyes and raised an arm, the hand shifting into a massive, razor-sharp claw in an instant. It narrowed its eyes in anticipation as it looked down at Wu Ming. Well, it said, nearly salivating, it's been interesting, but I think I'm done with you now. See ya, Wu Ming. So, Wu Ming thought, this is what dying for real feels like, huh? This sucks! The black dog brought its arm down, but before it could reach Wu Ming, the limb went flying off. It said. He said. The second strike came a second later, a black sword whipping through the air, and this time it struck Black Dog's head. Half of its face was cut away diagonally, the mask dropping to the floor and dissipating into shadows. Snarling in annoyance, Black Dog swept its remaining arm through the air as a scythe, and the attacker leapt backwards to avoid it. Yes, the attacker. A young man clutching a sword of smoke with the purple light of determination in his eyes. Morgan knocked. Hands off my teacher, he growled, staring down the abomination. For its part, the black dog just grinned again. Oh, wow, it said. Oh, this will be fun, actually. This is funny because no one believed Wu Ming could truly lose, but now it's Wu Ming versus Wu Ming. So it's anyone's game.
This is my version of Wu Ming, just to peek into my corrupted, twisted mind.
This is my OC Black Dog. It copies all the powers of the things it touches, and it gets stronger, and you can't kill him because he reforms.
Well, it's because they fall fucked around.
Why didn't the fucking Houndmaster just use this guy?
Because it activates when he dies. That's what makes it so OP.
It's fucked up.
It's and it wasn't that OP until Wu Ming started fucking around.
Shaking my Wu Ming.
All it could do originally was bite stuff and jump through corners.
The corner jumper. Alright, let me see what we got.
It was I'm going to... Oh, now it's a god.
I already asked you if Kevin was a blah blah blah. Okay. Ainsworth says, can you tell us about some factions that no longer exist and what happened to them?
Well, there's the Great Chain, we all know. They were originally basically a fourth party in the galaxy for a time. There was the Final Church, Supremacy UAP, and the Great Chain. But the Supremacy did not care for them because they took liberties with operating in Supremacy space, and they went to war during the time of the pre-Daemon to just in Supreme Daemon period was the war with them, and they were destroyed and retreated into the UAP, where they now exist as the Lesser Chain, which is sort of remnant government, which is part of the Governing Council. So they have a nebula. Well, they don't currently have a nebula, but they usually do.
Lan asks an incredibly funny question next. Lan asks, could the Queen give every single ability to one drone?
Well, not every single, a good portion of it. But even now, a lot of the abilities are being used to stop the number of abilities from killing him and blowing him up.
Oh, I see.
So it's a delicate balance.
I'm very interested. I want her to lose a lot of abilities in this fight. I need Praetorian 1 to die. How does he have the Aether to fuel? How does he have the Aether to fuel them all?
Well, it's the entire hive is the one using Aether.
So they're like instead of making more Praetorians, she's putting everything towards maintaining this one guy right now.
Well, yeah, he's basically just being stuffed full of abilities,
and then all the other drones are like fueling him. That's very funny. Oh well, there's a simple way to explode him. Then Ruth just has to hit him with Revolutionaire set, and then he'll explode. Right?
He's a messenger of God. He cannot be shot so easily. How dare you?
Be not afraid, Samuel Seltzman. By the way, that's a really funny name, just because it is very incredibly close to the name of someone I actually work with. It like freaked me out for a minute. It's like a couple letters off. Rurum asks, are the Hive of Malkuth's Aether colors based on the drone that uses them, or some other factor, since are drone puppets not individual personalities?
It's one organism with one Aether color, which is red.
Okay. Lan asks, what is the extent of the Hive's ability manipulation? For example, can the Queen give a drone contradictory abilities? Can they mix and match abilities to consistently create Aether glitches or exploits?
They could do that, yeah. If they were if there's ones that interact well, they can intentionally do it, like with the Bunyan Drive and things like that. They can just hand them out as they please.
Nice.
It's like Jokers and Balatro.
That's right, you can cheat, because normally if you made like hacks like that with your own Aether, you would know you're hacking it and it wouldn't work, but because these are abilities stolen from other people, I guess you could just do that. Huh?
Yeah.
That's pretty devilish. Rurum says, roughly how long ago did Morgan transition? And did he join the Blades and meet Wu Ming before or after the transition?
Before.
Interesting.
Well, met Wu Ming before, joined Blades after.
Met Wu Ming before, joined Blades after. Interesting. So, and he met Wu Ming like a decade ago, right?
Roughly.
Okay, so like around 8 to 10 years.
Yeah, around 8 or 7 years ago.
Interesting. Rurum also asks, I've also already asked about one of the others, but what are Fei Long's titles of Commander of the Scarlet Parade and the Last Dragon refer to?
So the Last Dragon is the chassis he uses is sort of sculpted to resemble a dragon, hence his association with those and where that name comes from.
Who's Fei Long again?
He's the Nebula One.
Oh yeah.
And Scarlet Parade is basically a elite military group in his nation that he also leads, as well as is a nebula. So that's where that comes from.
Rurum asks, when it happened, how many previously thought crownless became Inamans?
Quite a few. It was sort of like a very much an incident.
The Inamant incident.
Well, yeah, basically. Because I know there's people mention that they don't come up very often in modern days because it's not really an issue anymore because the issue happened then. Yeah. Most of them died in the process of the issue.
Lan asks, what does the special officer exam consist of? I want to hear you because you told me before, and I want to see if that answer is the same.
Well, it depends. It's not always the same. Sometimes it's something along the lines of the inner or outer melees, where it's like a battle royale with a certain number of people going through to the enders.
I know other times you mentioned it's like a written exam, or sometimes you're just like pushed up to that rank if you have connections or whatever.
Yeah. There's various different routes into it, but the exam is usually something along the lines of the in or out melees, or if there's an examiner who wants something else done, they can make like a mission, like they're competing to do something or accomplish something.
Because that's what we saw in 4, right? It was like a special officer hopefuls do this, win the day, and you get to be officer. And you were like, that was a particularly asshole one.
Yeah, he was a dickhead.
I always imagined it in my head as like the MHA entrance exams, where there's like the written portion, then there's the obstacle course, and then there's like... Lan asks, are there videos of the 1,000 Revolutions?
Not that many. Very rare. Of like that time period because of the transition.
You know, like in how like in hit. Well, you know how, like, in history, there's, like, famous pictures, like, there's the one of, like, Americans raising the flag on, like, one of those Japanese islands? Is there, what would be that for the 1,000 Revs? What is our famous
The fall
history
of
photo?
Azun, I would say, were the final battle sort of... Well, I say final battle. The final big battle was between...
There's a photo of it?
There's, like, a victorious sort of shot, yeah.
I have a question. Does Aether pick up on cameras and video?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know if it was like kind of like how eyes sometimes glow red or like certain things don't pick up. I didn't know if it was like invisible to camera.
No. You can see it. It's there. Don instantly very afraid that it's Demon Slayer thing.
No, I was just curious.
He had a nightmare last night.
Ah! Alright, well thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye!
Bye!